So I can't go on talking about Jira until I revisit Scrum and Agile. And also I have to revisit user stories and sprints and all those things because I want to make sure you understand we all have a basis for what we're about to talk about. So let's look at Agile Scrum again and revisit that. So we talked about Scrum being this framework. It's not a prescribed way you have to do this way. It's a framework, and different teams can adapt to their own environment using this framework. So typically in an Agile Scrum team, you have a product owner. There's a backlog. So all of these things are all the things that need to be done. So you have a list of things that you call the product backlog. And each of the individual things are product backlog items that are part of that backlog. And then we have a team, right? The development team, which the product owner is also a part of the team in general, it's part of the Scrum team. But you have a developers who could be, not just programmers, but it could be anybody who is contributing individually to the whole process. So they're going to pick off a few of these product backlog items and they're going to sniper off that piece and call that their sprint backlog. And this is done in sprint planning, where they determine how much of this long list of stuff can we actually get done within the next 2 weeks or however long your sprint happens to be. Now, once you have that, the team agrees, they have committed to doing that. They go off, we start a sprint, and they start working. So they're working on everything that they have agreed to do within, let's say it's a 2-week sprint. So this is a 2-week represented here. But every day, every 24 hours, we have a meeting we call the daily scrum or the stand-up. And that daily scrum meeting is to make sure that we clarify any questions, we figure out if there's any roadblocks, and we get the team moving forward. Hi guys, I hope you are enjoying the video so far, but let me take a minute to introduce you to the Refinement Notebook. So this is my Refinement Notebook. As you can see, it is quite large. It's 8.5 by 11 and it's hardcover. So you have something to press on. But the beauty of this notebook is that it has all the sections to help you stay focused and be productive in your refinement calls. So here you can put your user stories, then you put your discussion topics, then you have your major decisions and blockers that will go right here. But most importantly, you have your action items. What are all the things you need to do coming out of this call? And who's the owner of it? Very, very important. And at the bottom of every page, I have these messages that would help you stay focused and motivated as you go through your refinement session. So go to Amazon.com and get this refinement notebook. I will put the link in the description below, and I hope you enjoy it. Now back to the video. Why is this important? Because back in the day, under project management, you would have a project meeting and you decide on what you're going to build, and you'd have a whole long list of requirements, and you could be spending months working on that thing. But you might be stuck on one thing one day out of the month, right? But you have to be a part of another meeting. You got to find the resources, you got to find the lead, technical lead, you got to find the project manager, you got to coordinate all of that from yourself. And then you finally get them into a room where you can tell them what your problem is. And then they got to go off and, talk to other people to get a solution. And they come back to you maybe a week later with another answer probably to your question. That didn't work for you. So now the cycle repeats. They go off and find out some other stuff. They come back to you again. And it might take a couple repeat of that for you to actually get an answer. Now, that's not very efficient. I mean, if we're agile, we got to move faster. We got to do things quickly. So we have this daily scrum to solve this problem. It's expected that you're going to meet every day. So you don't have to sit with your pain or your problem for days on end, waiting for the project manager to become available so you can meet with them. No, there is a set meeting every single day. It goes on for only 15 minutes. You got to get it out. Everybody got to get their blockages out within that 15-minute time period. It's not going to go over that. And then you have an opportunity, every individual has an opportunity to voice what is blocking them, what's stopping them from going on with what they need to go on with. So this daily scrum is instrumental to having a successful agile process because people have to get the clarity they need. They have to get the answers they need. They cannot stay blocked and stuck for days on end, right? So that's where you come in, and the Scrum Master is good for clearing that role. We'll talk about the Scrum Master in a minute, but that's where we're doing the daily Scrum up here. You can do some things to, manage the process to see how fast you're getting stuff done with your burn down charts and other charts and all that stuff. So every day you do this for the 2 weeks that you're working in the sprint. At the end of the sprint, you have a review, which means we're going to showcase everything we've built. Now, some things are very nice to demo, like it's a front end, it's a UI piece, it looks pretty. But you could also talk about the back end things that you've done that may not have a front end to show it off, but you've done it. Or you may have done some research during the sprint or whatever. So you use the sprint review to talk about what you've accomplished. And then you like to think about it in 3 ways. Now that you've done this stuff, so what? What does it mean? Does it mean you're closer to getting to a release? Does it mean that you've done something that will impact the lives of your customers? And what does all of this stuff that you got done, what does that do? What does that mean for the company, right? What's the value of it? That's a so what. And then we have the now what. Okay, now that we've done this, what's the next thing we're supposed to be doing? And that's normally what we talk about in the sprint planning. But in general, the product owner is a part of this sprint review meeting, and they set the stage as to what we should be working on, what we should be thinking about for our next sprint planning, and so on and so forth. And then the work is done, it's finished, it's either released or deployed to some environment or some other thing if it's not going to production, and you've basically finished your sprint, right? And then at the end of that, you need to do a retrospective, which means I need to reflect on what we did. The whole team comes together, the whole team, not just a few people, the whole team. Typically, they like to say the managers are not a part of the retrospective because they want it to be open. They don't want to say things that the manager will hear and then feel like they're penalizing the employee for, or whatever issues that people might have, that they'll be more free to talk among their peers, but not as free to talk among their superior. They have recommended that you don't have the managers in because you want that freedom. But everywhere I've worked, people have just been transparent throughout. Like, even if I think the CIO is making a terrible decision, I tell him. I tell him to his face and I give him the reason why. And he may not listen to me. Sometimes they're like, well, thank you for sharing that with me, but we're doing this. And that's cool too, but at least I got it out. So I've always been fortunate to work in places where it's very transparent. So it's okay to have your VP in the retrospective, your CIO in the retrospective, your senior, your chief product officer in there, along with your product owner and your product manager, all these people. I'm okay with having them there because I am me, regardless of who I'm talking to. If I know this is something I think we shouldn't do, I'm going to say it. I'm going to give my defense for why I say what I say, and I'm okay with doing that. But in some environments, some people might feel intimidated. So, as a rule of thumb, you typically don't have these senior leaders in the retrospective, but you do share the document of the retrospective afterwards. You can tell them what we talked about and what we agreed to do, and we can kind of self organize. So, the other part of doing the retrospective is it helps you to self organize. It helps the team to come up with what works for them, and they become the owners of it. So, nobody feels that they're being told what to do or being pushed, something's being pushed on them that they don't want to do. Everything that we do is what the team agrees to do. And there's tremendous buy-in, tremendous ownership because they came up with it, right? So that's the value of doing the retrospective. Don't skip the retrospective. I know people who say we can do it every other month or whenever, once a year or whatever. But I encourage you to keep the retrospective. It's very good to do it at the end of every sprint. It's very good practice. So that's your Scrum.